Hi, my name is Sammy Everson, and this is my persuasive reflection vlog. The purpose of the persuasive speech was to get us comfortable speaking about controversial topics. Eventually, later in life, we're going to have to face controversial topics, and we're going to have to choose a side and support our answer. Going into this speech, I was not nervous at all. I know that there was many people that were going to agree with me, and there was many people that were going to disagree with me. I knew what my beliefs were, and my goal was to try and make the people who disagree with me agree with me, or at least understand what I was trying to prove throughout this speech. I maintained high ethos by using accurate information and making sure that all of my sources were credible and they weren't like fake or not real. I also used statistics because statistics help maintain my credibility as a speaker. And I also made sure to cite all of my sources correctly. By not citing your sources correctly, this would lead you to plagiarize, and that would mean that you would be using your information or you'd be stealing someone's information, and that would just not end well. For technology for this speech, I used a camera to record this speech, and the only thing that would have or could have gone better would be changing the audio a little bit. There was some static that got caught in the audio and it didn't sound very good. I also made sure that my camera was charged the night before giving my speech. That way, when my audience members arrived, we'd be able to start my speech right away. One of the natural elements that I liked about this speech was finding an introduction strategy. I like using quotes or statistics as an introduction strategy because then in your conclusion you can use a different quote from the same author that you used in the introduction and like wrap up your whole speech, and I don't know, I like it a lot. So that was very natural to me. One odd element would be using nonverbal cues in like the set spot. Normally you're allowed to like move or go wherever you want when you're talking. In this specific speech, you moved and then you stayed where you were until you were ready to change points. So that was definitely very weird. I thought about my audience when doing this speech because I made sure that all my audience members were athletes. This allowed them to see my side of this speech and show what could happen if you use performance enhancing drugs. And at the end of the speech, they all agreed that drug tests should be mandatory for professional athletes. My strongest argument, I think, in the entire speech would be about the health concerns and the side effects of performance enhancing drugs. This is because the side effects are proven to have actually happened and they're not made up. So that was a very strong argument. I had an advantage of logos for my topic because many people are for drug testing because they don't want people to cheat and lie just to get a victory. They'd rather have a level playing field. One thing that worked for my speech was making sure that my rough outline was perfect because then I had a full extra week to practice my speech because I didn't have to change anything on my rough outline. It was just resubmitted as my final outline. One thing that didn't work was trying to memorize all of my quotes. I got a few words mixed up and it just kind of freaked me out a little bit. So next time I need to rely on my note cards to do help remember my quotes and not try to memorize them completely word for word. Another improvement that I need to make is by saying first, second, and third when I go to state my main points, because I forgot that in both my introduction and my conclusion of the persuasive speech. And in chapter 18 on page 135, it talks about the components of delivery. And for this specific speech, I tried to work on volume. Normally when I'm talking to friends or family, I can be as loud as I want, but when I go to give a speech, I'm just nervous and I don't talk as loud as I should all the time, so I really focused on making sure I was loud and talking clearly so my whole audience could hear me. Thank you.